My name is Vidya. Vidya Rani is my full name, and I am from India, working among the Lutheran women and also the grassroots women in Chennai. We work in 6 slums in Chennai. This is way back in 1984 when we started this work as Lutheran churches based in Chennai, where the headquarters of the Lutheran churches is located. We worked in one slum for about 5 years, then moved on to another area or district where we worked in 6 slums, and then now we are on the third phase, working in another 6 slums, roughly about 3,000 families, approximately. Mm, these are the people who are uprooted, internally displaced, evicted, or in another word to say, thrown off in the name of beautification of the city, where their rights are violated tremendously. When they come to the city, they are thrown to the realities of the city. There is no clean drinking water even. Air is also not pure. When they come, the city atmosphere is not that welcoming. There is no place for them to go settle down. So what do? They go occupy any place they wish to. Mostly it belongs to the government. For example, a place closer to the railway line or on a bridge. No? When the government realizes that there's colonies formed already in such public places, at times the government is obliged to provide them alternate place of living. It's because it's quite some time, it's a big number, and then the government has what we call beautifully the rehabilitation centers, where the government identifies certain places away from the city where there is no basic amenity at all. One such place that we work is where we have about 1,045 families, where the houses were constructed, one brick wall house of size about 9 by 10. That's a house for a family of minimum of 4 and maximum of 6 or 7 sometimes. Those houses were built with the help of the World Bank assistance, and it was a government project where the people are given alternate place. When somebody is thrown off from near a railway line, then he or she is given a number and said that this is your house. Where people are, that's why I said the people are literally thrown off. That particular place was a garbage dumping ground. Garbage from entire Madras city was dumped there. It's a huge land, 40 acres of land. And the government chose part of the dumping ground, built these houses, made people to move in. So you can imagine the health and environmental hazards. So now the government intention is we have moved people, mass of people, and now the space is ready for beautification. The alternate place that is chosen and given to these people is mostly on very inhuman condition. The people are dumped there, then where there is no drinking water, no electricity, no proper roads, no school, no fair price shop, no hospital, no police station. You name it and it is not there. And what we do is to organize them as one community through our community development work, and be as a liaison person between the community and the government, so that initially we work for them and then we work with them and then finally we leave it to them to address their issues. Through people's participation process, we involve the community. So we work with men and mostly we work with women, and our program is called Slum Women's Advancement Program. So we work through the women mostly, organizing them into groups, help them to assert their basic rights and speak up for their rights in the family, community and society, and help them to economically empower through microcredit initiatives. So there are quite a number of stories where women have come up and said that yes, this is my issue, my family issue, my community issue, and I have the right to address it, and I have the responsibility to address it. Until uh, recently, maybe a decade ago, we never had problems with interreligious conflicts. We had a lot of religious freedom, But definitely by constitution, we have the right to follow any religion. We have the right to proclaim the gospel. That by constitution we are safe. But in reality, particularly after the last government, which is a very staunch Hindu government, things were different. That is a period when churches were burnt, Bibles were burnt, nuns were raped, and the churches were attacked. That became a sort of routine during the last Hindu government at the central level. So there was a big challenge to every Christian. How do I maintain my faith? And if you see, the majority of the Christians today would be converts after the British time. I'm a convert after the British time, but mine is the third generation now. But still, I would like to hold on to my faith. There were many times when the previous central government offered invitation for reconversion, and it did happen in many of the places. The Christians were reconverted back to Hinduism because their claim is that India belongs to Hindus, and all those other than Hindus who have taken the religion from a foreign land have no place. So either you leave or come back to the original religion. So my faith is very important. My life and witness as a Christian woman, is very important, very significant, and I always feel that it should outstand. I remember of the many cases, one case where after the child attained puberty, she is the only child at home, and the father is an alcoholic, very violent in nature. The domestic violence, mostly in these low class families, are at peak. And this particular man has the tendency to beat the woman, not with hands, not with stick, but with stones. So it is a routine almost to the woman to go save her life. Because when he beats a woman with a stone, throws, you never know where it would hit. And if she's ultimately bleeding, there is nobody to take her even for a first aid. So that's the reality. So she runs from family to house for a rescue. So that is the situation. And when this daughter of hers attained puberty, the father wanted to have this girl. You know, he wanted to have the sexual pleasure with his own daughter, which the mother refused. Mother said no, over my dead body. And she had the courage to take her out from the family, out from the community even, and she brought her to our center. She was in our center. That was a time really sort of challenging. There was a lot of threats even for our lives. The father kept saying, yeah, whoever gives asylum, they will see their end. It was a difficult time. The mother brought her, and she was there for a day, and then she went back. And there were many chances, many clues could have been given to the father where he could easily find out the whereabouts of the daughter. And we were in danger, in one word to say. But still, we thought, no, let's take it up. We took it up. And she was there for 1 month, 1.5 months maybe. Then the struggle was growing. Then finally we thought perhaps if that is the same city, and this is the community with whom we work. So the headquarters of the NGO is known to every person. So it is not difficult for the man to find out her residence details. So we thought maybe she will not be secured beyond 30-45 days. So we found a place for her in another boarding home outside the city. So she continued there. We just tried to get the consent of the mother, and mother said, if she is alive, if she is safe, if she is happy, it's more than anything for me. Church is the body of Christ, and we are all parts of Christ. And if one part suffers, the whole body suffers. If one part rejoices, the whole body rejoices. And I am the part of the church because I am part of Christ, and I bear the image of God, and I know very well that every person, man, woman, around me bears the image of God. And if I have to be a Christian, a member of the church, and I need to love my neighbor as myself, and so church's role in this work is very, very crucial, very, very significant, and it takes a prime role in every Christian life and in the life and witness of every church.